Ravens, we got it all going on this week. Of course, the Orioles home for 11 games in a row, welcoming in various contenders and pretenders. I don't know, between Tampa and Arizona, but those Boston games next week are going to be something. This guy is up in a city where they also have some baseball going on, and they're selling a whole lot more tickets. I wrote my blogs this week about the Orioles' attendance issues. You can read them at WNST.net and certainly react by throwing me an email, nasty@WNST.net, or on Twitter or Facebook. He's in Toronto, but he covers the National Football League for Bleacher Report. He is Sean Tomlinson, and you can follow his journey out on Twitter at Sean G. Tomlinson. That's SEANG Tomlinson. What's going on, one of our defending champions? I know up where you are, it's all baseball, right?
Right now it is, yeah. It's a lot of just watching games through our through our fingers right now. Yeah.
Well, we have no idea how this is going to turn out. I mean, I'm as worried about Detroit and Kansas City and these other teams playing stinker schedules as I am necessarily about Toronto and Boston. I mean, at this point, it'd be nice to win the division and all that, but you at least got to be in the tournament, right?
Yeah, certainly, and it's such a sports cliche. There are no easy games come September, and when you talk about, for example, the Rays coming into town or et cetera. I mean, they've had a great second half, and they've been playing sport all throughout the division. It's a historic division, really. We have 3 teans within 2 games of each other.
Don't sleep on the Yankees now. Come on now, don't sleep on the Yankees.
No, I know. It's a division that could send 3 games, 3 teams to the playoffs. It's not supposed to happen this way, this close. When you look at the rest of baseball, there's not really any tight races to this extent. It's a lot of fun for the fans, but it's also terrifying.
Well, you're up in Toronto, and I'm here in Baltimore. We have one thing in common. We both have good baseball teams, and I am going to talk some football with you, Sean, but I want to ask you this, because here in Baltimore, we had 14 years where the team stunk. In Toronto, the team stunk forever. I remember my wife and I going up there for games 10, 12 years ago, and 5,000 people in Skydome at the time. Neither one of the teams were any good, quite frankly. I've had a long friendship for a quarter of a century now with Greg Zahn, who I know you watched through these Sunday roasts up there and all that stuff, and he's a legend for his pink suits. But I was there a year and 2 months ago on my baseball tour. I did 30 ballparks in 30 days, and Toronto was like in the middle of the tour. It might have been like the 12th, 14th day of the tour, and I saw them play the Red Sox on a Monday night, and there was no one in the stadium. And 60 days later, you couldn't get a ticket, and quite frankly, most of this year it's been that way. Kansas City, everyone came back very, very quickly. It went from being, who are they, to how do I get a ticket? I've got to get a ticket. I've got to be there. In Toronto, everybody's got to get a ticket and go. In Baltimore, it hasn't been that way, and we've been decent for the better part of 5 years now. I find it fascinating that Toronto has readopted the Blue Jays, and Baltimore has not fallen in love with the Orioles again.
Yeah, I think often in baseball more than any other sport, because it's such a long season, there's some perspective needed as a fan. Like, listen, every September loss stings, but just to be in contention is an accomplishment. There are, 25 some odd teams that would really give a lot to be in your position. So, yeah, I think what happened with the Jays here is once that momentum carried into August last year, the Jays sort of got over a hump. I'm not sure specifically when it happened, but people always brace for something awful to happen in August.
Well, you start believing they're going to win instead of hoping they don't lose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or expecting them to lose,
watching games and being scared.
Right.
And now, and then even into the off season, you can tell the popularity of a team by how much they're talked about in the off season. I really believe that.
Well, you're in a hockey town. I mean, every time I'm in Toronto, anytime I'm there, they're talking hockey, not baseball, not the NBA. It's a hockey place.
Yeah, it is. It's the World Cup of Hockey is on here now, or about to start. That's going to get a lot of attention. The Leafs, of course, training camp starts in a few weeks. But people, win or lose, the Jays dominate talk radio here, everything right now. And again, last year around this time, about a month from now, people were talking, what's going to happen with David Price, etc. And then into the winter, there was just a buzz and excitement about the team, and that's continued. I mean, the Jays just hit the 3 million mark in attendance the season, and we still got a few weeks left. So there's just a lot of buzz and interest, and we hope we can keep it going in 2017. Now, Batista and Encarnacion, what's going to happen there? That'll be interesting, to say the least, but it's been a lot of fun here.
He is Sean Tomlinson covering the NFL up in Toronto, north of the border. And hey, man, I should have brought you on last week, but I could do a little residue because I know you guys are closely associated with that Buffalo franchise that John Bon Jovi learned is never coming to Toronto. And, boy, Buffalo stunk, but there was certainly some confidence building here for getting guys involved in the offense, seeing the offense working, seeing receivers actually go out and do it, seeing young offensive linemen. And more than that, I think the most exciting part of the Ravens' win over Buffalo was just how the defense flowed to the ball against a mobile quarterback and having a game plan that really kind of shut the Bills down on Sunday.
Yeah, I think they smothered them it really effectively. I mean, when you look at a guy like Tyrod Taylor, what he does and who he is, we all saw it last year. A very mobile guy who can turn those plays where it looks like there's just chaos in the backfield and then be creative and do something with them. But he was just never really given that opportunity. He only ran for 11 yards. More importantly, he only averaged just over 5 yards per pass, 111 yards overall through the air. The Buffalo just never really got an opportunity to have any momentum whatsoever, especially Sammy Watkins. Now, he might have been a bit hobbled, but there was just never any vertical passing game to speak of, and that's because there was not any separation. It was tight defensive from the Ravens throughout. And then offensively, I was interested to see what we did or didn't get from Mike Wallace. Like, yes, he looked great through all of August, but the regular season is a different animal, and he's really connecting with Joe Flacco. And finally has that quarterback back who can get him the deep ball and do it accurately. He didn't have that in Miami. He had that going back all the way to Pittsburgh, but that connection looks pretty sound now.
He is Sean Tomlinson. You can follow him out on Twitter at Sean G. Tomlinson, at Bleacher Report, and covering the National Football League. Now, look, the Ravens this week go to Cleveland. I don't want to call it automatic. We've talked to lots of people in Cleveland this week who do not believe in the Browns or Josh McCown. Josh McCown gave the Ravens fits last year. But the big matchup this week is going to be Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, that they get it going nice and early. One of them is going to take on a loss, and Pittsburgh playing on short rest after a very impressive effort in D.C., I thought, on Monday night. And I know Cincinnati did enough to get by with the Jets, but had some real problems protecting Andy Dalton.
Yeah, it always has been, especially like the ageless wonder that is James Harrison. It's amazing what he's still able to do at 38. But what stood out to me throughout all of the games last Sunday was what AJ Green was able to do, and it's amazing that he can still impress you because we always. We just expect greatness from him. What he was able to do against Revis, again, just he is that upper echelon receiver, always able to that large catch radius, do things with balls that really don't seem catchable often. But then on the other side of the field, Antonio Brown he's just not coverable. You just can't keep up with him. I mean, Bashad Breeland, bless his heart, he is a quality corner, and he's actually going to make some money this offseason for the Redskins, but he just had no chance. So having those two guys on the field at the same time has been for several years now and will continue to be a display of some of the best talent the NFL has.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quarter of our season, right? I mean, 2 against Cincinnati, 2 against Pittsburgh with matchup issues. But the best part of the Ravens secondary, I mean, Sharice Wright made a lot of tackles. Eric Weddle and Webb looked pretty stout at the safety position. Obviously, Jimmy Smith was a little gimpy at one point, and I never like to see that. We've had enough injuries here in the back end of our secondary the last 5 years. Keeping those guys on the field is what it's all about. But I like our defense better, and I know when Ozzie and Eric DeCosta put this team together, they realize we have to guard A.J. Green. We have to guard Antonio. And if we can't do it, they're going to have 150, 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, and we're going to lose.
Yeah, it's a matter of even just controlling the damage, if you will. And what impressed me with Baltimore too is specifically in that secondary Webb, who's made the transition from over from cornerback to safety, and he was a good candidate to do that because he has quality vision and instincts. I mean, I think people maybe don't realize or take for granted just how incredibly difficult that safety spot is mentally. You need to be always mentally in tune, and Ed Reed did it well for so many years in Baltimore.
And now trying to teach those Buffalo kids how to do it too.
Yeah. I did a piece on him and what he's doing transitioning. I think it's so hard when you are one of the best players at what you do to then go and coach players who will never be on your level as a coach. And we see it throughout sports. The best players fail as coaches, but I think he's got that patience to be able to do that very well. But yeah, as a safety, there's such a mental game involved there too. It's beyond just the physical, and I think Webb has that.
And looking at all of the games over the weekend, and I'm always trying to figure who the bad teams are, right? So I saw Buffalo on Sunday. To me, they look like a bad team. I think on Monday night, between San Francisco and the Rams, I thought they were both bad teams. Boy, the Rams really stink. We're going to see Cleveland this week. I'm pretty sure they stink. I thought Miami stunk before the season began. I know they hung in with Seattle. We'll see what they have against New England. It's about starting a season with Seattle and New England. That'll make you stink pretty quickly. But, San Diego is vulnerable right now with the wide receiver situation where they could sort of fall off. I'm trying to figure out who the bad teams are so we can figure out who the good teams are.
I do agree with you on the San Diego assessment and Cleveland, but in fact, I had the unfortunate assignment of having to cover and write about that late game Monday night.
The one I fell asleep on, you mean?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
The one everybody in America fell asleep on.
Yeah, but 1:30 East it ended.
I'd say fell asleep on the West Coast too. At 10:30, it was an awful game, right?
No, I think I don't care what time zone you were in. Sleeping was the best decision. The winner of that game wasn't much better. I mean, they 49ers won because eventually the Rams defense, which is a quality unit, just shrugged their shoulders and said, "We can only do so much here." Listen, that was only a 14-point game, and late in the third quarter, the Rams were pressing, and they almost made it a one-score game until there was the inevitable turnover in the red zone, and that was that. But the 49ers, we can't read too much, if at all, into that win. I mean, you're not going very far with Blaine Gabbert, who those two teams at halftime combined for 146 passing yards. I mean, it was a performance, especially on the Rams end, but overall, it felt like it set offensive football back about a decade.
Well, for me, with the teams that are 0-1, not all of them are going to be bad teams. But look, in an 8-day period, everyone goes into that game on Sunday. It's 0-0. They come out 0-1, and they got a little what my pal Jim Schwartz would call RA, the red ass, and you have to live with it all week. And you play the game, but there's nothing worse than 0-2, especially if you're a team that really thought you're a playoff team. So the teams for me that are on alert this week: Indianapolis Colts, Washington Redskins, Dallas Cowboys, Arizona Cardinals, and the Carolina Panthers, right? All of those teams think they're good teams, and this is where it gets a little nerve-wracking because we went 0-2. We started the year in that position, and that's a very, very difficult thing to battle out from under, especially if you're a high expectation. Now, look, this week I don't expect Carolina to lose at home to San Francisco, but I tell you what, the Colts could find themselves on the wrong side going out to Denver this week.
They absolutely could. I'll throw the Jets in there, too.
Well, the Cowboys play the Redskins. One of them is going to be 0-2 on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think too often also there's a tendency to shrug your shoulders and say, "Oh, it's early." Well, no, in a sport where there's only 16 games, 2 games is not early. It is never early. We're talking about in a few weeks from now we'll be saying, "Oh, the season's a quarter of the way over." So there really is not a too early in football. I'm not saying you need to necessarily mash panic buttons at 0-2, but But you're right. I think especially the Colts, with what they've been through with that franchise last year. Now, you can only control so much of your own fate. Andrew Luck, when he ruptured his spleen, I mean, what are you going to do? But you need to get some positive momentum going forward here. And they did even in the second half of that game Sunday. I really like what I saw from Philip Dorsett. Stepping in and being that extra vertical weapon, essentially replacing Coby Fleener, because they've gone from a 2 tight end system to now 3 wide receiver sets. But even in a loss, it was easy to like what you saw, but that has to translate into a win now.
He is Sean Tomlinson. He is rooting for the Blue Jays. How much Blue Jay gear you have out? You wearing something every day with a Blue Jay hat on it or bird on it?
It was funny. I just went to Las Vegas for a wedding last week, and I was immediately identified with my Canadian passport because there was always a Blue Jays hat on, and I get that a lot whenever I travel.
Well, any Canadian I've ever met has a maple leaf either tattooed somewhere on their person or somewhere on their clothing. That's just part of being Canadian, man. That's why I love you people.
I guess. I mean, we'll take that stereotype along with the being polite thing. Yeah, it always seems to. I think it's because we have a few stores up here, like Roots, that just all the clothing has a leaf on it somewhere.
Yeah, well, something like that. Yeah, man. Well, I got my Oriole hat out here, so I'm showing that off for the Facebook Live and the YouTube camera. So it's going to be a fascinating couple of weeks, right? I mean, from a baseball perspective, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. The Red Sox might lose 10 in a row. They might win 10 in a row. I don't think the Orioles are going to win 10 in a row, but I do like the fact that they're pitching better. And in every game, because of the bats, Toronto, the Red Sox, the Orioles, they're going to have a chance. Even when they're down 4 runs, they can make that up after the 6th inning.
Yeah, and it'll stay close right till the bitter end because these 3 teams are playing each other. I mean, every team has, I believe, at least one series left against each other.
And one series against the Yankees as well. And I've been talking a lot about that this week. The Yankees are going to be one of the definitive parts of this because if they play well, they're going to get in. And if they play well, they're going to hurt some other teams' feelings. Everyone sort of looked at the Yankees in August as, we got them in September. Those are automatic wins. Not working that way.
I did it, absolutely. And why wouldn't you when they became settlers for the first time in a long, long time, right? They gave away a lot of that veteran talent that were staples of that team. And, it just was a team that you should have overlooked. And now all of a sudden, not only are they back and here now, you're going to fear the Yankees for a while again. This is one of the quickest rebuilds you're going to see in baseball.
Hey, man, always great having you on. You can follow Sean out on Twitter at Sean G. Tomlinson, and, of course, out at Bleacher Report and BR_NFL from the fighting city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where, if we have a one-game playoff and I get a day pass to come up to Toronto for a day or two, I would be okay with that. I would absolutely be okay with a one-game playoff in Toronto for all the marbles. That would be kind of fun, quite frankly. Don't tell anybody I said that because we want to win the division. We don't want any part of no stinking wild card and all that. But if I have to come to Toronto for a couple of days in October, I'll handle that, my man. I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, hit me up. We'll have an adult beverage.
Or 2. Hey, I appreciate it, Sean. Thanks for coming on, bud.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it, Sean G. Tomlinson. That's S-E-A-N, like Connery. Looks a little like Connery, too. Handsome, dapper man. He's out on Twitter and at Bleacher Report. You can find me out on the Buy a Toyota audio vault 24 hours a day. You can listen from anywhere in the world by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. All brought to you by Buy a Toyota and buyatoyota.com. Our morning newspaper ships to you each and every morning at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Eric Weddle will join us at Adams Jeep next Tuesday night swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. Great to have him out. Can't wait to talk to him. One of the really nice people I've met in the National Football League. And I can't wait to do some storytelling with Eric Weddle. We're going to be doing that up in Hartford County on Tuesday night and saving some lives as well for There Goes My Hero. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I am a very available individual. Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere you are. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.